Delaware. I think it's a really beautiful Friday, actually. The ice just shimmers from the trees.
Very differently.
Listen, I try to find beauty where I can. It's an ongoing journey of my life. Good morning. This is the voice of Miss Molly Meyers LaBadie, our Deputy Director. Thank you for joining us. Gage on the board today.
Hello, good morning.
Hello. And this is Nicole. I am your host today, while George has a morning off on the other side of the 270 outer belt.
Doing something fun, I guess.
Being George.
Being George.
Curious George.
Hey, so things in the world are crazy right now, right?
Crazy.
We can all agree. And it can be scary. You can be confused. There could be a lot of questions that you as an adult have, that your children have, no matter what age they are. I just want to do a quick little plug that the library is a really good place to go to find some help, to find some truth. One of the resources that I love that we have is Newsbank.
Yeah.
It's on our website, www.delawarelibrary.org. Go to our research tab or resources tab and just look for any of our news resources. But one of the things that Newsbank does, you'll find it under Newsbank or Access World News, is they find hot button topics. And then they take all of the news from all across the world and they put it in one spot. It makes it really easy to consume. Yeah. Find some of those answers.
Without all the opinion in it.
Right,
Sometimes when you're trying to figure stuff out, you just want the factual information before opinion.
It's easier to read news and not have it sound so bombastic than it is to listen to talking heads or pundits.
Yeah. When I'm trying to learn about something that's frightening me, one of the things is I don't want somebody telling me how to think about it.
Right.
And to go to those basic sources, that's the best way to do it. Then I can make my own decisions.
Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up and point that out to some of our listeners who might not know about it. That's a good place to go. Anyone with a library card can get free access every day to the New York Times online. That's a good place to go to. The Delaware Gazette, WDLR. We've got our local resources. We've got our great places too. But if you have questions, the library is a really great place to start.
And if you don't have a library card, you can actually sign up for one online that would give you access to Newsbank right away. And then you just got to walk in the door to get the actual card to check items out.
Yeah. It's really good. It's one of those things. Oh, and if you're on social media, check out our Facebook and our Instagram page. Last night we posted a couple quick tips for how to make sure that your email is not going to be subjected to the cyber attacks that we think might be coming. So
it's a really sort of common sense reminding us of all, because we all fall down that rabbit hole of, wait, what did that say? Let me look further. Let me click that button. It looks like it's from my bank, but it's not spelled like my bank. Somehow they spelled bank wrong, and I probably should pay attention to that fact.
Yeah, that attachment looks wonky. I've never heard of a .exe attachment. Should I click on it? No.
Normally, if it makes me panic, just call your bank. Don't click on the buttons. I've done that on so many things where I'm like, why would Columbia Gas send me this? I just call Columbia Gas or log into my own account and look to see if there's a notice in my account versus clicking on those emails.
Yeah, so just little ways that the library is trying to help you out these days. But we also have really great books, too. Molly,
many.
Have you been reading anything lately?
I have. So every now and again, I jump onto that. Remember that PBS list from a few years ago, the 100 Great Reads?
Yeah.
Well, I had read a number of them, but I keep that list, and every year I try to add 2 or 3 in. And I was absolutely delighted with the one I just came across. It was The Brief, Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde.
I have heard of it, but never read it.
Junot, I'm going to say his name wrong, and I hate that. Junot Díaz, I should have looked that up, wrote this book, and it is like this mix of everything. He's this overweight comic book nerd. He's from the Dominican Republic, but he doesn't quite fit anywhere. The story is tragic, but it's funny. It's for audiences you'd never expect. My husband, who reads nothing but comic books, this is going to be in a car trip. I have to listen again to get all the details. The description of the Dominican Republic, how his family got there, the stories of the strong women in his life and their trials and tribulations. This book's amazing. And if he quoted one more comic book thing, then I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. How did that get in there?
I didn't know that at all that was the subject of that book because the cover doesn't.
It doesn't look this at
like
all.
That.
No.
Yeah.
And I was really curious. I go into a lot of my reading completely blind.
Yeah.
I think that is the best way to walk into what you're about to read because then you're just really open. You don't have the opinions. So I went into this like, okay, what are you going to show me? Brief and Wondrous Life.
Uh-huh.
And it took me on this. I mean, it really is a tragic story in the end. And it talks about, mental health and it talks about all sorts of things. But it gives you this life. And I think I just let myself be there with him. I was sad with him. I was hopeful with him when he'd try to lose weight. Like so many of us understand that feeling of trying to lose weight and accomplishing maybe for a little bit. And then, that battle back and forth. And it just really was such a relatable story, and yet so many cultural things I didn't know before, mixed in with a comic book world I love.
That's really cool. Yeah, no, I have heard of that book. I've seen the title. I know we've had book groups that have read it, but I have known nothing that there was even a comic book element to it. So.
Totally, pop culture as a whole, but comic books are really heavy. Those superheroes are heavy within this story. It's wonderful.
The Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde.
Yes.
By Junot Díaz. Junot.
Yeah, let me spell it. So if anybody is going to look this up, it's Junot Diaz.
Yes. Wonderful. That's a great recommendation. And that list is a really wonderful list. PBS, 100 Great Books of American History or something
you can
like
just
that.
normally Google and find it. And I printed it out back when it came out and have just slowly worked through the ones I hadn't read or I don't remember reading.
Right, exactly.
I'm rereading a few of them I maybe did in college or high school.
Yeah. Well, I also have a book that I'm reading today. I'm like, oh my gosh.
My mom is reading that right now.
I'm like a chapter and a half from the end, and I am mad that I didn't finish it on the drive-in because I'm doing one of the things that I love to do to speed my way through a book, which is listen to the audiobook and read the physical book like at the same time, so that no matter whether I'm in the car or at home, like it keeps moving.
My mom literally follows along with the book, and
sometimes,
so she's reading, and she then takes notes as it goes, so she can track.
Yeah.
Who she does these for book clubs.
Sometimes I do that. Well, sometimes I will listen to the book and read the book at the same time whenever I want to like really speed my way through it. So this book is called The Four Winds. It is by Kristin Hannah. And she's written The Nightingale. She's written several other titles. She's a very popular writer. This book in particular has the Read with Jenna from the Today Show, like stamped seal of approval on it. So I'm sure it's been on 1,000,001 lists and recommendations and things like that. The audiobook reader who narrates it is Julia Whalen. She is fantastic. She's a phenomenal narrator. She just has a very slow pace. And this book itself, like, it can be a fast read. And it was like a 15-hour audiobook. And I was like, all right, we're going to speed our way through that.
Did you speed it to 1.25?
No, I can't do that. It really bothers me.
Oh, I do that. All my books are about 1.25 unless the reader's like really slow, then it's 1.50.
Oh, goodness.
Or if it's a really fast reader, I do have to turn it to normal.
No, my mind can't comprehend fast enough.
Sometimes it forces me to focus on the book.
But yeah, there's that too. So the story of the Four Winds, we are in 1934-ish America in Texas. And there is the family that Elsa is born to, the main character, Elsinore, that she is born to. And they basically haven't really given her, they're a well-to-do family. They haven't given her a whole lot of love, though, because by their standards, they tell her regularly that she's not pretty. They also, she had a fever basically as a child, so she always was like at risk of catching something again, and so she was sickly. And so the family was just basically like, you're not pretty, you're sickly, just, learn your station in life and get used to it, basically. Yeah. You're not going to get married off. We have money, but, just be happy enough with that.
Yeah.
She feels pretty beat down. Of course, as one would, and decides to kind of rebel for like a night. She cuts her hair, she gets a fancy dress, she puts lipstick on, and she goes out to a speakeasy, basically. And at that speakeasy, she first of all isn't admitted because everybody in the town knows everybody else. And they're like, no, Elsinore, go home. And on her way home, she meets a young man named Raphael Martinelli. And
Ooh.
she and Rafe end up having kind of a tryst, and she maybe sees him one or two more times, and then finds out that she's going to be spending a lot more time with him, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
And so her family is outraged and disown her. They send her over to the Martinellis, and they say, she's your problem now. And, I mean, first of all, pregnant out of wedlock, and then also with an Italian, of all things. And so then she is over at the Martinellis, and they're farming. They're a farming family. It's 1934. We are on the, couple years into the Great Depression.
Yes.
We are also in Texas, so we're in the Dust Bowl.
Okay.
Texas is experiencing drought, great drought at this time, years worth of drought. The land is dying, and when the windstorms come, it basically could kill you.
Yes.
The wind, not only the dryness of it and the inhalation of it, but the disease that it carries and the bacteria that it carries. It's very dangerous for everyone involved. Pretty soon, the animals are dying. The cows aren't producing milk. The horses are only breathing dirt. Just everything is terrible. FDR's New Deal is making all of these promises of work in California, and Elsa and her family are trying to weigh the decision of, do we go west to the promises of California, or do we stay in the land that has been promised to us? And it is, like I said, it's not my typical story, because I really don't find myself like intrigued by historical fiction. But this one, it tells a good story. Kristin,
my mom said one chapter in, and it normally takes her a while to get into a book that she loves. First chapter, she was like halfway through the first chapter, and she did not want to stop reading this one.
It does. It keeps moving. You find ways to love and understand the characters, in spite of, or because of their struggles and everything like that they're facing. It's also a good perspective of the time. When people do go to California, you kind of wonder, were the promises true? And you find out that they're not. We get into the historical context of workers' rights.
Yeah.
And, there were some places that were not teaching them, but having them pick cotton in the fields. And they were like, oh, sure, your day's wages go toward credit in the company store. And they say, okay, cool. So I can also pay down my credit. And they say, no, you just live continuously on credit. And it makes, really difficult lives very relatable.
Yes.
So it's The Four Winds. It's by Kristin Hanna. I would recommend either audiobook or the actual physical book. We just had a couple book clubs discuss it this week. And
I love our book clubs.
Yeah, so I would recommend it. So when we come back after the break, we are going to talk with Molly about something that she knows a lot about.
So excited.
And something that she has some family members who know a lot about.
I do.
Culture passes, going to the Columbus Museum of Art at Delaware Library.
Yay!
So stay tuned. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. It is Nicole Fowles at the helm today with Molly Meyers LaBadie, our
Love
deputy
being
director. Here. We love having you here. I mentioned it to Gage over the break, but some of you might remember George Needham has announced he's going to be retiring.
Yeah.
Come September 30th.
I'm going to try to stop that.
I know. Right. there was a moment during our last board meeting, and somebody said, is there anything that, we can do to like prepare for the next director? And one of the board members kind of, silly was like, I just, I make a motion that George not retire. And all the staff raised their hands.
I was like, I'm on this one.
Yeah.
Board support, finally.
Right. Yeah, so Molly is here today wearing her sisterly hat because
I am.
She knows a thing or two about the Columbus Museum of Art, and we made a really, really cool connection with the Columbus Museum of Art and the Delaware County District Library this past week. We just announced it on social media yesterday, got an announcement going out today. It'll be in the papers tomorrow, that we are introducing a thing called culture passes.
Oh, they're so cool.
Member for a day, like little passes. So can you tell us a little bit about what is entailed in those?
Absolutely. I would use my sister's voice, but that's the one thing we share is the same voice. So you can just pretend that I'm Cindy Myers Foley instead of Molly Meyers LaBadie right now.
Right.
The culture passes, they are so cool. So you can come into any of our libraries. You come up to our information desks. We're going to have them at the reference desk. So not where you check out, but where you ask for questions. In most buildings, and the ones that only have one desk, it'll be there.
Yeah.
And they're going to hand you a pass. They're going to write a date on the back. And it's going to get a family of up to 8 into the Columbus Museum of Art as if you have a membership. So that means that your parking will be covered. You get a discount at the Schlock Cafe, which I have a nephew who works there, and that food is amazing. The avocado toast, you've never had avocado toast like this.
I love a good avocado
And the beet
toast.
chips. I'm not even a huge fan of beets. The beet chips make me want to cry. They're so good.
They make other people want to cry for different reasons.
I know. Literally, you will be shocked. And then the even in their gift shop, you get the membership discount in the gift shop while you're there that day.
How cool.
All with this pass. Once you come into our library, they'll write a date, and it's 7 days from that date that you'll need to go. Don't feel like you need a rush. We have plenty of these passes. There are going to be plenty more. Sort of plan it in your calendar. They even let you for free into whatever the major show is. Now, Van Gogh did just leave.
I know. I'm sad I missed that.
I know. It was an amazing show, but they have so many other shows going on all the time. There's one I'm really wanting to get to, which is Women Behind the Lens, and it's centuries of female photographers. So, it'll get you into those special shows that they have going on. So keep your eye anytime you see a show you kind of want to go see. They give you the idea of what it's like to have a membership at the museum, though, which is wonderful.
I was getting some of our press, ready to announce this partnership. And as I was getting ready to announce it, I was looking on the Columbus Museum of Art website, and I saw that Women Behind the Lens installation.
Yes.
And it also had a local tie to the Delaware area,
Yes.
which was this past fall was at the Ross Art Museum.
Yes, it was, which if you missed it at the Ross, you better get there so you can talk to your friends about it.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought that was so neat. There are a lot of really cool things about the Columbus Museum of Art. First of all, the outside is fun in and of itself.
Oh my gosh. Well, the garden too. If you wait till spring to get your passes, get your lunch and eat it out in the art, garden, because the artwork, just walking into the museum though, so many times people I think just walk straight in that museum. Look up. There's this little beautifully decorated glass, overlay that keeps you from getting rained on your way in the museum.
Right.
But that walks you right in there. And it's just beautiful. The details and everything about that museum. Then you walk in and you see the glass sculptures that look like fish flowing at you at the top. I have so many favorites at this museum.
What about something for people with kids?
Oh, my gosh. So museums and libraries share a problem. People think they're not friendly for children, and they are.
Quiet
yes, in the library,
reverent. Yes,
I get shushed way more than any other patrons get shushed. So trust me, we're actually designing libraries today so that kids can be kids and be a little noisier. We do story times, but museums are the same.
Yeah.
So the Columbus Museum of Art has something called the Wonder Room, which is only one element of what makes it so family friendly. When you go into the Wonder Room, it is an area where kids can explore. They can right now make spiders or, work with fabric art. So learn to weave things and learn how the art is made by doing it hands-on. But throughout the entire museum, the learning is active for children and adults. So if you go into an area that has maybe a hard topic to look at for a long time, and I think the photo's up, but it's not a major look, they had a picture of, it was an Appalachian artist from Southern Ohio, which, if you've heard me talk at all.
It's your neck of the woods.
I'm from Appalachia, Ohio. As south as you can get in Ohio, in fact. But there was a picture, and it had a mother with a child, and it had clearly fog coming, and the child had, a malformity. And it really was talking about sort of that pollution and that, but it was also showing the beauty and the, how we're torn back and forth in Appalachia and what lives are really like. And for a long time, they had a conversation piece there where you could put a Post-it note up talking about how you responded to the work.
Right.
And they do that throughout the museum. They ask you questions, and you can have dialogue with other visitors through Post-its. Sometimes they'll have hands-on activities where you're recreating some of the work or learning how it's done. But it's not the quiet place. There are museum guards, but they're there to actually answer questions for you.
Yes, and docents, I'm
the
sure.
docents are fantastic.
I do love a good docent.
And I'm sure we have many a docent from Delaware County that are up there as well, because they take docents from all over Central Ohio, and they are trained. You know, during the Van Gogh, they pointed out one of the paintings in the Van Gogh exhibit had been in JFK's room the night before he died. Ooh. And the last phone call that he made was to thank the person who had put the piece of art in that room. And he and Jackie talked about how they didn't want to leave the room. They were enjoying it so much.
Oh, my goodness.
So I hope I told that the way my mom, I got it from my mom who got it from a docent. But to learn some of the neat facts like that, and, you know, then you're standing not only in the history of Van Gogh, which had his own tragic story.
What has the painting itself
but
seen?
What has the painting and all of his paintings seen in their time?
Yeah.
So, you know, you start thinking about the influence he's had through all the years.
I said it last week or the week before, whenever we were getting ready to meet the artist, R. Gregory Christie, who was coming for our Telling a People Story exhibit.
He was so good.
And there is nothing better than standing in front of a piece of art and learning about it either from the artist, him or herself, or, you know, from somebody who knows a thing or two about the piece of art. That is by far my favorite thing.
His passion was so palpable.
The people at the zoo who do that too. Docents are the best.
They are the best. The other thing I want to mention, if you take your family in, I have a favorite thing I do. When you go to the museum, upstairs, far left corner, there is a room you can go into, and all it is in there is this giant barrel that's hanging by one rope. And it's sort of an illusion. I love to go in there and get the perspective of laying underneath it.
No.
Because it's surreal.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like this thing could fall at any moment. It won't, I swear. It's been there for so long. But, you know, I highly suggest go in there and immerse yourself in this art. The museum lets you really take yourself into a new place.
So how many times am I going to say to my kids, don't touch that?
So it's really fun because the museum makes it easier not to touch it. One, the museum guards will kind of come in and talk, but they have a video when you first come in that I'd watch with your kids.
Oh, cool.
It's so silly. It's sort of the museum rules. Instead of saying don't, it's all the do's.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So how they can look at it. And, you know, they have a silly video with somebody trying to touch the art and then the art falling over and the person getting hurt. So, you know, but it's silly and kids really enjoy it. Yeah. So they're not a place where you feel like you're always yelling at your kids not to touch the art.
I love that.
They also have tape, so you can just tell them that we have to stand behind the tape.
Yeah.
Makes it really easy.
So this is an incredible benefit with your Delaware County District Library card, with any card that you hold from any Central Ohio library, but especially if you are a Delaware County District Library card holder, walk into any of our branches, drive through our drive-through at the Orange Branch Library, or contact our outreach services.
Yes.
And, you know, tell them that you want one of these passes. Like I said, they're not limited, and they do have, once you check it out, which really just is you getting the pass, they have a 7-day expiration. If you go past that, it's all right. Come back, get a new one. We're not running out of them. And
we got you covered.
Yeah, and there's no rush. You don't need to like go in and get one right now. Just figure out when you want to go and then come and
just
get
a
one.
huge shout out to the Columbus Museum of Art for making this available to people across Central Ohio.
And a quick kind of addition onto that, we just learned as well that Opera Columbus has extended to library customers around their 2 performances of Fellow Travelers, which is based on a novel by the same name, this weekend. So Opera Columbus is providing a 25% discount per ticket when somebody shows a library card, no matter the system, at their box office.
And, you know, operas, I didn't realize this. They've changed so much. I remember going when I was a kid and not knowing what was happening. They now have the story translated above where you can read it.
Supers.
So don't let it intimidate you. I had no idea what was going on, but I was able to follow beautifully, and all the music took me away with the last opera I went
and
to.
even if you don't have the translation, you can the actors, if they're doing a good job, you have an idea of what's happening. So, all right, well, we've got a quick minute, but I just want to give extra special thanks to our friends of the library, as they are the best show sponsors in all the world and the best friends in all the world.
Yes.
Next Saturday, March 5th, from 9 to 3 at Delaware, they are having a book sale. So get your green bags ready and come up to Delaware for the book sale. This week is the last week for the Telling a People Story exhibit.
If you have not gotten in, get in.
It's at the Orange Branch Library. You can check that out. And we've got a couple book clubs coming up this week. Kids Cookbook Club returns a week from Saturday at Ostrander at 1 o'clock. And so it's always online, DelawareLibrary.org. Click on our events tab. The information about the Columbus Museum of Art Culture Passes are on our website as well, and social media. So, come and check one out. So, Molly, thank you for being my guest today.
Thanks for having me.
Gage, thanks for running the board.
My pleasure.
And we will see you in the stacks.